Thank you very much, Tanya. Good morning, everybody. I have actively farmed full-time for the last 15 years and have seen firsthand the impacts that changing climates have had through flooding, erosion, and periods of drought, though thankfully the 45 degrees here was experienced in Australia and not at home. So if a Scottish farmer can survive such climate extremes, there may be hope for agriculture yet, even if technology has its limitations. So with the race on for net zero by 2050, a question I often ask myself is what can be done within agriculture to not only stay relevant, but operational in these changing times. This led to my topic, Gate to Grid, a responsible model for integrated energy production. With thanks to the Nuffield Farming Trust and the Elizabeth Creek Trust, a Clyde Higgs Scholarship, I've had the opportunity to look into this in such countries as New Zealand, Australia, Italy, France, Norway, and the Netherlands, and here in the UK. It's clear to me that we as the agricultural industry must realise the potential of implementing renewable technologies if society as a whole is to have enough energy to eat, heat, and power their day-to-day lives. From visiting commercial-run solar and wind parks in Australia and Norway, it was clear to me that securing this new green electrical generation is key to feeding this cycle to reach our sustainable goals. As stated in the 6th Climate Budget by the UK Government's Climate Committee, energy demand is set to decrease. However, electrical demand is set to double by 2050. This would mean an increase in consumption by some 290 terawatt hours, considerably large, considering that 1 terawatt hour is equivalent to 500 million kettles on the boil. On the whole, this is currently being executed by larger energy companies, renting sites for large renewable projects with little benefit to the local area or indeed the farmer. So why us? Well, we as farmers, managers, and landowners are already in the business of energy production. We convert the elements of wind, sun, and moisture into a calorie harvest, such as the grains, fruits, pulses, roots, and animal proteins that we produce. Considering that the production of a kilowatt is similarly a conversion of the elements into a unit of energy, the calorie output on farm is no different to the potential kilowatt output on farm. It is simply another yield. Farmers are therefore ideally placed to lead innovation in this field to not only feed the world, but meet its energy demands as well. So how can we do this? Well, one great example of energy integration with production was seen when I visited La Greenhouse, Calabria, southern Italy, even though it was tricky to find a translator from Scots to Italian. They run 100 acres of citrus fruit, both in-field and under solar greenhouses in an agrivoltaic system. Agrivoltaics being the process of producing food alongside solar PV. The solar greenhouses are made up from 50% solar PV and 50% clear glass. This allows sufficient sunlight for the citrus trees to grow and an additional financial yield from the electricity sold back to the grid. The shading does cause some bolting in the trees, which requires an additional pruning, but the shade, in turn, protects the plants in the peaks of summer, maintaining its growth and retains moisture. And this has seen a cut in water usage by a staggering 84%. Interestingly, during the winter of 2017, the area was hit by some severe frost, and it destroyed an old variety that was widely used. The trees under solar, however, were largely unaffected, and this produced a genetic bank to graft from. It has helped recover the tree populations throughout the region and has secured that variety for future use. So much success has been had with the agrivoltaic system in the greenhouses that a new gantry system is being trialled in-field, a very interesting project that I intend to follow. Now, being told many times to look to the oil and gas industry and how well they're doing regards their carbon emissions and sustainable production versus what we do in agriculture, I thought I'd take a look for myself. So I visited onshore energy producer Strike Energy in Western Australia. Their precinct project has seen the purchase of a 3,500 hectare farm. The gas rig here is in operation and the land is currently being let on a seasonal basis. However, it will be transitioned away from agriculture into a mixed energy asset, from the existing gas that's on site to the addition of wind and solar parks. It is within this the ability to utilise the energy generation on site that will give opportunity for hydrogen production from the renewables and a further potential from carbon storage into the rock where the gas extraction has been completed. These together will contribute hugely to its net zero or carbon negative status. It is a hope that as the gas production slows and eventually stops, hydrogen will firstly be mixed with the natural gas and eventually supplied exclusively from the large area of renewables. I consider this a great example of the long-term potential that generation has by sweating an asset on site, safeguarding the production in a sustainable manner. Now, looking to biodiversity, I saw an interesting system to enhance this across the Nice tramway network in France. The local government have integrated biodiversity and the built environment around the tramway network by planting native trees in the central reservations and green lanes where the trams operate, opposed to the traditional concrete and slab. They have brought forward a new vision of the urban nature corridor with the addition of biodiversity, which will increase over time. This links well to our established SFI or AFA areas on farm, and I believe a similar integration can be achieved with renewables. They can bring better economics and contribute to the energy security while giving a low-impact area for biodiversity to thrive. Back here in the UK, I often find reminders of the past in the form of old horseshoes out in the field. And looking back historically, it was the humble horse that was our solar-powered engine. The oats and the hay we grew using the sun's energy was converted by Shire and Clydesdale horses to power the machinery and work our lands, producing our food and fibre. Now today, with increasing reliance on outsourced inputs, we have somewhat lost touch with this circular economy of farming, and we need to re-envision this cycle for a sustainable future. So how can we achieve this? Well, we must sweat our energy assets, seeking the solution that is suitable for our individual farming practices. In particular, looking at agrivoltaics, these can stabilise the price and supply of energy to the farmer. Shading and subsequent moisture retention can be utilised in farming systems to safeguard from future changes in climate, as they've had a big impact on water usage in the hotter countries that I have visited. These systems can also encourage biodiversity with the additionality of shade and shelter, and even give respite for livestock in weather extremes. Some of the better methods that I've seen are maximising our rooftop solar. It's becoming commonplace and was even seen at the FAO buildings in Rome. It's a first easy win on a non-productive area that gives an additional yield. A new system of fence line renewables could become commonplace and could be a hybrid agrivoltaic system from the gantries seen in Italy that would be fit for installing over hedgerows and benefiting biodiversity with their green service lanes. Wind turbines can also be installed in field corners or in line, and this together would allow the cabling routes and connectivity to be brought into fields. When required, implementing fixed renewables should only take place on marginal ground, and modular systems should be considered where putting on productive areas. The ability to build renewables into rotation will give another break crop, benefiting soils and securing productive ground for future use. Renewables are not without limitations, however. When the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow, well, we could learn to live with this and be flexible with our energy consumption. Or realistically, for today's world, battery storage is a must. It needs to be implemented where larger infrastructure areas need a constant supply. Battery technology is still in its infancy, but it is rapidly developing and becoming more cost-effective. Now, much like everything else in the country at the minute, it is all tempered by politics. Government policy must enable farming to be part of the net zero solution, as farmers around the world are ready to embrace technology, but need support upgrading the infrastructure of the countryside. Focus must be given on upgrading the aging grid, allowing better, more efficient connections and the ability to export. We must capitalise on government funding to help with establishment costs, as it's expensive technology with high upfront costs. So what's next on my Nuffield journey? I will continue to pursue strategies to safeguard production from the land in whichever form it may take. On farm, I will look towards upgrading infrastructure and hope to find a circular farming system that can benefit many. Using solar in the UK as an example, if by 2050 there is a shift to electrification and a requirement for an additional 290 terawatts of power, this would in real terms require 3.5% or 605,000 hectares of agricultural land in the UK. This could be further reduced to 2% under modular systems. Considering this could be integrated with newly structured SFI or EFA areas, farming has the opportunity to get the story right with energy and food production systems that can benefit nature. I strongly believe that this should be shared across the entire area and involve all farmers on a per hectare basis, and not just going into singular large projects. Done right, this will benefit food security, energy security, and biodiversity. And it's in the future that finding this correct balance will create the right environment for new technologies to be embraced, enabling a leap forward in farming production and opening the gates to the next agricultural revolution. Thank you.